In the dim light of Tripp's attic, where memories gathered dust and secrets lingered in the air, Briggs and Tripp were on a quest not just for camping gear, but for traces of their youth. The attic, a time capsule of their shared history, was cluttered with remnants of days spent playing sports and nights dreaming of adventures yet to come. Briggs, tall and lean with the scholarly look afforded by his glasses, and Tripp, slightly shorter with the sun-kissed hair of a lifelong athlete, were now men in their late 20s. Yet in this space they were boys once more, searching for the tent that had been their shelter on many a wild escapade. As Briggs shifted a box, a photo slipped out like a silent specter, fluttering to the ground. It was an image of the two of them, but not as they remembered. In the photo, they stood before a cave, its entrance guarded by ancient boulders. The colors near the cave's mouth danced and twisted, as if reality itself was distorted. "Hey, Tripp, do you remember this?" Briggs's voice was tinged with uncertainty, the mystery of the photo gnawing at him. Tripp, with a puzzled squint, shook his head. I don't remember that." His response hung in the air, heavy with the weight of forgotten moments. The photo, now the centerpiece of their attention, seemed to beckon them with its enigma. As they delved into the depths of their memories, the phone rang, slicing through the silence. It was Vaughan, their friend from middle school, the one who had never shared their love for sports, but had always been a part of their inner circle. Tripp's voice echoed in the attic as he invited Vaughan over. "Maybe you remember something we don't." Vaughan, the keeper of their past, arrived with the same quiet grace he always had. The attic seemed to welcome him, the shadows shifting as if in greeting. The photograph lay between them, a challenge from the past, its rippling hues whispering of times and places just beyond their grasp. The attic was steeped in shadows, the only light filtering through a grimy window, casting an eerie glow on the trio. Vaughan's arrival was announced by the creak of old stairs and the soft thud of his footsteps. He emerged into the dimly lit space, his eyes adjusting to the sight of his friends, their expressions a mix of bewilderment and intrigue. "What's this?" Vaughan's voice broke the silence, his gaze fixed on the photograph that seemed to hold Briggs and Tripp in a trance. "We were hoping you could tell us," Briggs replied, his voice barely above a whisper, as if afraid to disturb the stillness of the attic. The photo was an enigma, a moment captured in time that neither of them remembered living. It showed Briggs and Tripp, younger but unmistakably themselves, standing before a cave that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The boulders framing the entrance were not just stones. They appeared to be guardians of a portal, their surfaces shimmering with an ethereal light. Vaughan held the photo delicately between his fingers, his mind racing back to the day when reality had slipped from their grasp. The fair had been a ruse, a cover for something far more inexplicable. They had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a void that Drew, their missing companion, had once filled. Could it be? Tripp started, his voice trailing off, unwilling to confront the possibility that the photo was a relic of their lost time. Vaughan nodded slowly, the weight of the memory pressing down on him. "It might be from that day at the fair. You thought it was just a few hours, but it was months." The air grew thick with the unsaid, the mystery of their missing time hanging between them like a specter. The photo was a key, a piece of a puzzle they weren't sure they wanted to complete. Yet the allure of the unknown beckoned them, the cave in the photograph promising answers, or perhaps more questions. As they stood there, the past and present blurring, the attic seemed to shrink around them, the walls inching closer, as if urging them to step through the veil of time once more. The mystery of the photo was not just a riddle to be solved. It was a whisper from the void, calling them back to a place where hours turned into months, and friends disappeared into thin air. In the deepening twilight, the group huddled around the flickering screen, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. Hours turned into an eerie marathon of research until Vaughan's fingers, trembling with a mix of dread and anticipation, clicked on a link that led to a clandestine message board. It was a digital archive of the unexplained, a collection of narratives that mirrored their own chilling experience. The board was a labyrinth of lost memories and stolen moments. Each thread wove tales of photographs capturing more than just images, snatching fragments of time, leaving behind voids where memories should have been. These accounts span the globe, a haunting pattern of occurrences that defied explanation. Among the threads, one story stood out, its details etched in Vaughan's mind as if seared by the same mysterious lights mentioned within. A man recounted a day at a carnival, vibrant and alive with laughter and the sweet scent of confectionery. His friends, caught in a moment of joy, posed for a photograph by a wandering photographer. But as the camera flashed, his friends dissolved into the ether, leaving nothing but the echo of their laughter. The man, propelled by instinct, surged through the crowd towards the spot where his friends had vanished, only to find emptiness. The photographer was gone, vanished as if he were a specter, leaving no trace but the lingering aura of an otherworldly glow. The camera, described as an artifact of unknown origins, was said to emit an ethereal light, a beacon that seemed to call out to the very fabric of reality. As Vaughan read on, the room grew colder, the shadows stretching across the walls as if reaching out. The group exchanged uneasy glances, a silent agreement passing between them. They knew they were on the cusp of uncovering something monumental, something that could unravel the very notion of existence as they knew it. The quest led them through a myriad of carnivals, each a kaleidoscope of colors and cacophony, yet devoid of the one they sought. It was on the eve of the fortnight that their persistence bore fruit. Amidst the revelry, there he was, a man whose stature towered above the crowd, his presence almost anachronistic. His beard, a bristling thicket of wiry hair, framed a camera that seemed to whisper of antiquity and enigma. His pitch was a siren's call, promising vistas of realms untold captured within the confines of a photograph. He spoke of images that held secrets far beyond their apparent worth, tempting the boundaries of belief and desire. Yet the group stood united in their refusal, their chorus of no a firm barrier against his enticements. Questions hung in the air, palpable and pressing. The man's eyes darted, seeking an avenue of retreat, but they were resolute, encircling him with an unspoken ultimatum. Tension coiled in the space between them as they ensured the camera's lens pointed nowhere but into the void, its mysterious powers shackled by their vigilance. The air was thick with the unsaid, the man's fear a tangible shroud that threatened to choke the truth before it could be unveiled. What secrets did the camera hold? What worlds lay beyond its frame? These questions demanded answers, and the group would not leave without them. The air was thick with tension as the photographer's voice dropped to a whisper, his eyes darting around as if expecting the shadows themselves to listen in. "This camera," he began, his fingers tracing the ancient symbols etched into its body, "is not of this world. It captures more than mere images. It captures souls, whisking them away to the realm of the Jaqueens." Briggs and Tripp exchanged a glance, the weight of their forgotten ordeal pressing upon them like a physical force. The photographer continued, "The Jaqueens. They are connoisseurs of human struggle, relishing in the spectacle of the trials. To them, our pain is art, our desperation a symphony." In the decrepit building, the photographer revealed the dark heart of his tale. Those who enter the trials are changed forever. They face horrors designed to break the spirit, puzzles that ensnare the mind, and challenges that push the body beyond mortal limits. He paused, a haunted look crossing his face. And the camera, it's their gateway, their collector. It brings them fresh subjects, and in return it grants me these cursed glimpses into that twisted dimension. The dimly lit room flickered with the ghostly images emanating from the camera's screen, casting elongated shadows that danced upon the walls. Briggs, his heart pounding in his chest, watched as the scene unfolded, a cruel reflection of a past he could not remember. The photographer's voice was a somber melody. "The memories once taken are like whispers in the wind, gone never to be grasped again. But the echoes of the trials, they can be witnessed if one dares to look." The camera, an artifact of otherworldly origin, hummed with a power that seemed to warp the very air around it. The screen revealed a desolate landscape, a place where hope seemed to wither and die. The two figures huddled in the corner, their bodies tense, eyes wide with fear, were trapped in a nightmare that had no end. And the beast, it was a grotesque mockery of nature, a creature born from the darkest recesses of imagination. Its 6 eyes gleamed with a malevolent intelligence, and the blood that stained its form was a stark testament to the brutality of the trials. The spikes and spines adorning its body were not just for show. They told a tale of countless battles, of survival in a world where only the strongest, the most cunning, and the most intelligent could hope to endure. As the beast inched closer, its nostrils flaring as it scented the air, Briggs felt a chill run down his spine. The camera was not just showing them a scene from the trials, it was a window into a reality that defied understanding. A reality where the Jackwins sat in judgment, and the unfortunate souls caught in their gaze were but pawns in a game of unfathomable cruelty. The photographer's eyes, now reflecting the horror on the screen, met Briggs' gaze. "This is the truth of the trials," he whispered, "a truth that haunts me every time I close my eyes. You may not remember, but your souls, they bear the scars of that place." In the shadowy confines of the abandoned building, the air was heavy with the scent of decay and the weight of untold secrets. Briggs and his friends, their faces pale and drawn, could only stare in mute horror as the camera's screen illuminated the gruesome scene before them. The beast, a nightmarish entity with a maw dripping with fresh blood, had cornered its prey, and the air was filled with the sounds of a struggle too terrible to bear. The photographer, a man haunted by the sins of his past and the chains of his present, spoke with a voice laced with sorrow and regret. "Across the cosmos, there are countless like me, bound to the will of the Jackwins," he confessed, his eyes reflecting the torment of his soul. "Each of us condemned to a life of servitude, forced to lure the innocent into a web of suffering and despair." Briggs, his fists clenched in anger and helplessness, demanded to know how such cruelty could be allowed to continue. The photographer's gaze dropped to the floor, where the camera lay, an object of unassuming appearance, yet imbued with an ancient and malevolent force. "I once thought as you do," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I believed I could end the cycle, free myself from this curse. But the camera, it is not just a tool, it is a sentinel, a guardian of the Jackwins' twisted games." He recounted the fateful day when he had slain a fellow photographer in a desperate bid for freedom, only to find himself ensnared by the camera's relentless grip. It feeds on the souls it captures, and in return, it demands obedience. To defy it is to invite punishment, a pain beyond imagining, or worse, to become a participant in the very trials I sought to escape. The revelation hung in the air like a shroud, and Briggs felt the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes upon them. The camera, now silent, seemed to watch, to wait, its lens a portal to a realm of darkness and despair. "There is no escape," the photographer murmured, his voice hollow. "Not for me, not for any who have been touched by the Jackwins' hand. The trials will continue, the cycle unbroken, until the end of time itself." And with those chilling words, Briggs understood the true horror of their situation. To fight against the Jackwins was to challenge the very fabric of reality, to stand against forces that spanned worlds and eons. Yet, within him, the spark of defiance still flickered, a flame that refused to be extinguished, no matter the odds. As they left the building, the silence between them was a testament to the burden they now carried. They had sought answers, only to find more questions, and the path before them was shrouded in mystery and danger. But one thing was clear: they could not, would not allow the cycle of suffering to continue. Together, they would seek a way to sever the chains of the Jackwins, to bring an end to the trials, and to ensure that no more souls would be lost to the camera's unyielding gaze.